Hi, good morning. How are you? Today is the first day of 11th International Conference on Applied Human Factors and Ergonomics and the affiliated conferences. We're supposed to meet in San Diego, but we are meeting virtually due to coronavirus. Hope to see you next year in New York face to face. The title of my tutorial is Design, User Experience and Usability. It is third edition. My name is Dr. Javed Anjum Sheikh and I am from University of Sialkot, Pakistan. So this is today agenda, introduction. Then we will study design, and then there is some activity on design. After that, user experience, and then its activity. Finally, we will study usability. Then we will have break, and after the immediately break, we will have hands-on activity part 3, and then outcome of activities 1 to 3, and then we have question answers. Now actually, because we are virtually, so we don't have time or don't have slot to do some activities. However, you can do activities at yourself if you like, and if you have any question, then you can email me so I can answer your every question. I have a story for you. The title of the story is Flood, Monkey and Fish. Once upon a time, there was a flood, a monkey and a fish. Due to flood or due to water, the monkey scrambled up a tree. He saw the poor fish struggling in the water, and with the best intention, he lifted the fish from water. So here is the moral of the story. Good intentions are not enough. If you wish to help the fish, you must understand its nature. So what we are studying today, it's all about design, user experience and usability. We have more emphasis on user. So if you don't know the user, cultures, background, then it would be very difficult for you to make a design for him which make him happy. So let's start from the beginning. What is HCI? Ultimately, human-computer interaction. HCI consists of 3 parts. Human could be an individual user or a group of users. Computer could be any technology ranging from the general desktop computer to a large-scale computer systems. Interaction, any direct or indirect communication between a human and a computer. Human and computer are similar because both have vision, both have sound, and both have touch. HCI has to do with quality of design from the user perspective. The study of interaction between people and system, and designing interactive products to support people in their everyday and working lives. There is a dictionary definitions. Communication between a human user and a computer system, referring in particular to the use of input device with supporting software. As I earlier said, we need to design interactive active products to support people in their everyday lives. So design, user experience and usability. So first we talk about design. User and computer together are one system. We design the interaction of human with computers, humans with human mediated by computers. So do you think we can make design for everyone? No, it's very difficult. And ultimately, end of the day, you will make unhappy everyone. So after design, we need to see at a glance usability and user. So different user have different needs. As previous slide we said, you cannot make design for everyone. So different users have different needs. So what is the solution? Solution is very simple. Ask users, but there is a big problem. Users do not know what they need. People get frustrated and angry about malfunctioning and badly designed computer systems. People want to use computers as tools for play, work, and communication. Most of them are not interested in the computer itself. So if the usability is good, you will make people happy. To design computer system and what is the most important when designing computer systems? Good programming, functionality of the system, customer wishes, usability of the system, flashy GUI interface. All are appropriate, suitable somehow, but the correct answer is usability of the system, because design involves finding solutions that fit the user, task, and context of use. So if the usability of the system is good, everybody will be helped, and its deal with the according to the solution mean user, task, and context of use. We need to understand what is good design, what is bad design. In next few slides, I'm showing some design. Some design will be good, some design bad. You have to design. You have to think which design is good, which design is bad, according to your need, according to the user needs. Yes, bad design. Why bad design? Because you can't drink coffee in it, right? But if you see other side of the coin, then you can use it as an ashtray. You can make a cup cake. But still, if you see carefully, the design is bad, because near the cup there is a biscuit plate. It means the cup has a coffee. So ultimately it's a bad design. Very clever advertisement from Pepsi. It shows straw likes Pepsi but does not like their competitor. So that's why straw does not want to go inside. Good design. It also tells the owner of the house is environmental friendly person. Tree is the same style and he spoiled his wall, but he kept the tree. Both are good design. Your brush will not be disappear because you need to keep both together. Similarly, the water also provide pot for dogs or birds. So both designs are very good. Yes, it's bad. Why bad? The perfume bottle is disappear. The color scheme is very similar to the bottle. So it's very difficult to find out where is the bottle. Again, bad design. You don't know what's going on the paper. The background is so messy. You can't read white text. Welcome is a strange place, and it's very badly designed. Good design, so blind people can play it. I'm not sure why someone put playground area signboard near to the graveyards. Uh, Completely bad. Violence continues in Greece and Vina mini break in gorgeous Greece. Both are sign of a good design. But the issue is their placing is inappropriate. You are talking same time violence and you are offering break in Greece. So if they put break advertisement some other place, it will have a more impact than now one. Yes, McDonald ice, but it looks like mice. So bad design. Turkish Airlines advertisements perfect, but the placing is not good. It's supposed to be other side of the escalator. No one knows which one I need to press. If I go upside, which one I need to press. Similarly, the signboard saying different, which is on the road. So it's bad design. Again, bad placing. Board advertisements are okay, nothing wrong with them, but they're supposed to be on the other street, not on the same place, same position, same angle. Sale 70% off. Boxing gloves, boxing pad. Perfect ad for the Boxing Day sale. But the ad published during Easter breaks. Very difficult, very poor design. Page 1 of 4. Even the page 1 there is a more than 20 tabs. Who will remember this? Very poor design. Similarly, automatic updates. Very strange message over there. Updating your computer is almost complete. Your computer need to be restarted for the updates to take effect. Windows will restart your computer automatically in 3 minutes. Do you want to restart your computer now? Restart now. Now just visualize you are giving lecture and suddenly this message pop up. You don't have any rescue, I don't have any escape, because restart letter should be visible instead of restart now, because it's already going saying after 3 minutes it will be automatically restart. So it's also bad design. Very good. Welcome to our poll. Notice there is no P in polls. Let's keep it that way. Very decent way to how to keep clean your poll. I think best advertisement I ever seen. But I fail to understand why they said sorry we are open. Why you are sorry? Bad. Yeah, it's good for safety. Children sometimes play with everything and touch everything without unconsciously. So if they remove the cap, it is sign. It maybe it's hurt them, but now they are safe. So I think it's the best design and best safety purpose for ergonomic point of view. So there is nothing either good or bad, but thinking makes it so. Hamlet Act 2 Scene 2. Yes, it's all about thinking. Next few slides, I'm showing some design, some logos, some messages, which are all depend upon thinking. Do I need to comment on it? Obviously not. The words are clear, but the way they appears, it look like little bit odd. Now there are three sentence will appear in front of you. You need to read at once, loudly. Second one is coming. Third one is coming. Sentences are not wrong, but when it appears, it's all depend what we read it. That's tell us about our thinking, or maybe we see the things other side of the coin. Here are some logos which have their own story. It's just thinking. Again I say, it's just thinking. Right? It's all about thinking. Sometimes, just because of fonts, the meanings are different. Both pictures are self-explanatory. It's nothing to do with anything, just because the way they wrote makes the difference. Do you think this is good design for children? Sometimes message is very clear, but just because of our thinking, it become a bad design. After good or bad design, now you have to understand what qualities make design good. And when we evaluate web pages, we have to consider few things. For example, navigation, objective, coverage, writing style. Navigation is information arranged for clearly and logical, easy understanding. Do external links to other sites work? Does it contain information easily downloaded? Is navigation within the site easy? If there are links to other pages, are they to reliable sources? Does the site contain broken links? And for objective, is the purpose clearly stated for intended audience? What goals objective does this page meet? How detailed is the information? To understand coverage, depth and scope of information appropriate. Is information accurate and factual? Do the graphic enhance the information? Is the information on the site relevant to user needs? And finally, writing style. Is the language used appropriately for the intended audience? Site free of typos and other errors? Is there a date that shows when the site has last been updated? As we don't have time for activities, so if you have a time for your own, find any website, find out these 4 points and then send me for evaluation. Design thinking, it has 5 pillars: empathy, define, ideate, prototype, test. Empathize. The design thinking process begins with engaging your end user or beneficiaries through conversation to develop a richer understanding of their experience, emotions, needs, and desire. For example, what are your intended audience about what they really need from your services? Define. After gathering insight from your conversation with your end users, develop an action-oriented problem statement that can be used as a foundation for brainstorming. For example, how can you boil down all the points you heard into prioritize needs? Ideate. Spend some time dreaming up potential solutions. Be creative and think outside the box. For example, what would you do for and with your client if you had unlimited resources and abundant stuff? Prototype. Ask yourself what your potential solution could look like and translate this vision into something tangible by building models or mock-ups. For example, can you test out a pilot project of a new program or service your brainstormed? Test. Get feedback from your user on what works and more importantly, what needs improvement. For example, how did the pilot project meet the community needs identified? In simply, you can see empathy is just learning about the audience, whereas define is focus your question and redefine them. Ideate is a brainstorming. Prototype, you build a representation, one or more your ideas to show others. Raw model. And test, returning to your original user group and tell them what is actual look like. Design thinking process in a more simple ways. Empathize, you need to take interviews to understand them, but at that time you don't need to be judgmental. Define, make a personas, their role objectives, then decide challenges and pinpoint them. Ideate, share your ideas. All ideas are worth. Then make prototype, mock-ups, storyboard, but make them simple. And finally test them, which is good, which works properly. So that is the design thinking process. Define the problem. Design thinking is about connecting the dots to reach the desired outcome. It helps one to find the problem and view things from user's perspective. Design thinking employs deep empathy for its user, their environments, and their constraint involved. It helps business to define the problem with clarity. Design thinking helps you to discover many ways to solve the problem. The brainstorming leads to generation of many possible ideas to come up with a creative solution for the problem. The exploration of ideas involves understanding of customer, of user, and evaluate the solution from their point of view. Visualize solution. The design are used to create a solution to the needs of the user. The solution is centered around the needs of the user. The design helps the user or customer to visualize things. With the design thinking approach, users get to see the design or visualization of the proposed solution. They can visualize things before they receive the final diagram. Feedback is one of the most important and critical components of design thinking. Require user feedback. When the user see the design and visual maps of the proposed solution, they can provide their input and feedback. The iterative approach leads to improvement in designs till the best solutions are discovered. Finally, launch the solution. The launch phase revolves around the implementation of the desired solution using design thinking. The solutions are developed with user in mind to create personalized and meaningful interactions. Design thinking is a methodology which aims and constrain improvement and iteration to create compelling products and service. Design principles. There are many principles of design, but when it comes to web and interaction design, Donald Normans provides maybe the best six to abide by. Donald Norman is one of the great of computer-human interaction and user-centered design. He did, after all, coin the terms, and his principles are good place to start with any design project. But first, some context. Norman's main idea is that device, things, computer, and interfaces should be functional, easy to use, and intuitive. His idea is that there are two gulfs to avoid, the gulf of execution and the gulf of evaluation. Let's say you want to delete a photo from Facebook. Your goal is to delete it, and then end result is being deleted. What happens in between is the gulf of execution. For example, clicking a button that says delete. This gulf is small, where there are only a few roadblocks, like when you are deleting a photos. It's much larger when these are lot of roadblocks, like having lot of fields in the contact form. The gulf of evaluation is when a user is expecting feedback from a system, and the system either does not provide the feedback at all, alternatively does not give the feedback the user is expecting. There are six his points: visibility, feedback, affordance, mapping, constraint, consistency. What is visibility? The user can see it. Feedback, what is it doing now? Affordance, how do I use it? Mapping, where am I and where can I go? Constraint, why can't do I that? And consistency, I think I have seen this before. Visibility is the basic principle that the more visible an element is, the more likely user will know about them and how to use them. Equally important is the opposite. When something is out of sight, it is difficult to know about and use it. Visibility, the more visible functions are, the more likely user will be able to know what to do next. In contrast, when functions are out of sight, it makes them more difficult to find and how to use it. Problem arise when we cannot see how to use our device. Sensor technologies, how to use it, guess where to put hands. Visible knobs, dials, and buttons have been replaced by invisible and ambiguous active zones. Here, hiding certain functions can be advantages in interface design. Certain functions are kept invisible until needed. Also contained with a group of simple types. And there are Google also have a 9 dots, and theirs are grouped in a similar types. Google search, it make it clear where to enter text. Feedback is the principle of making it clear to the user what action has been taken and what has been accomplished. Many forms of feedback exist in interaction design, including visual, audio, and more. The key is to design the experience to never leave the user guessing about what action they have taken and the consequence of doing so. Feedback is the provision of information to a user about the result of an action. When feedback is used in design, the system tells the user that it has done something in response to the user's input. Simply, every action needs a reaction. There needs to be some indication. like a sound, a moving dial, or spinning rainbow wheel, and the user's action caused something. Google Chrome has a great job of this when they have loading pages. The little spinning circle starts as soon as you hit enter. So you know something is happening and goes faster when the page is about to load. So you know you are about to do something again. It is simple and effective feedback. You can see there are 4 pictures and all are giving the feedback very effectively and efficiently. Affordance is the relationship between what something looks like and how it's used. For designer, it means that as soon as someone sees something, they have to know how to use it. For example, a mug has high affordance. It is easy to figure out intuitively how to use it. For the web designer, affordance is even more important. Users need to be able to tell how access information they want from a website, or else they will just leave. Affordance refers to a attribute of an object that allows people to know how to use it. Essentially, to afford means to give a clue. The physical button on a mouse gives a clue that it can be clicked to perform an action. When an object has strong affordance, it's very clear how to use it. Don Norman talks the length about how doors often have poor affordance. When you come up to a door, it is not always clear to do you push or pull the door. One convention used is to put a sheet of metal at around arm height on the side of the door that needs to be pushed to mark it clear that it must be pushed instead of being pulled. When you do this, you are giving the door a strong affordance to indicate it should be pushed instead of pulled. There are 2 types of affordance, physical and logical. Physical affordance, how do the following physical objects afford? Are they obvious? Affordance logical, virtual affordance, how to do following screen object afford. What if you were a noise user? Would you know what to do with them? So everything is make very clear to make affordance better. Mapping is about having a clear relationship between control and the effect that have on the world. You want this mapping to feel as natural as possible. Stove tops are a great example here. When you see the first image, the mapping is not very clear because it's difficult to determine which control operate each burner. Versus the second image, it is far clearer and the control that control each burner, which has a better mapping. Above all, the C1 is super mapping, which gives the clear indication better than A and B. You can say this refers to the relationship between control and their effort in the world. Nearly all artifacts need some kind of mapping between control and effects, whether it is a flashlight, car, power plant, or cockpit. An example of a good mapping between control and effect is up and down arrows used to represent the up and down movement of the cursor respectively on a computer keyboard. Constraints are the limit to an interaction of our interface. Screen size are on a phone. Others are more known, like a single continuous page website having an image peeking onto the main page. It is logical for the user to scroll down to see the next image and thus the rest of the website. Constraints are properties of an object that limit the ways in which it can be used. Jigsaw's puzzle pieces utilize shape as well as the printed pictures pattern to provide constraint. When constraints are used in design, we reduce the possibility of user making errors. There are 3 types of represent constraints: physical, logical, and cultural. So now here are detail about three types of constraint: physical, logical, and cultural. Physical, the design of floppy disk drive allow the disk to be inserted in the correct way only. The design of video cassette drives allows the cassette to be inserted in the correct way only. Bank card can be inserted in certain ways. Key on pad can only be pressed in certain ways. ATM machine. Uh, in logical, where do you plug the mouse and keyboard? Top or bottom connector? Trial and error, obviously. Experience, do the color coded icons helps? Do you think? Do you find them ambiguous? How to design them more logical? Similarly, cultural, how do you represent danger? Cultural constraints rely on learned conventions. Red for the warning, certain audio signals for dangers, smiley face for happy emotions. Once accepted by more than one cultural groups, they become universally accepted. Which are the universal and which are cultural specifics? You can find from the bottom slide. Consistency refers to having similar operation and similar elements of for achieving similar tasks. By leveraging constant elements throughout your entire experience, you make your experience far easier to use. This consistency is important not only within your interface but across the many interfaces users are using across their devices. This is a simple example of poor consistency. When you are using so many different styles for action within your interface, this refers to designing interface to have a similar operations and use similar element for achieving similar tasks. In particular, a consistent interface is one that follows rules such as using the same operations to select all objects. For a constant operation is using the same input actions to highlight any graphical objects at the interface, such as always clicking the left mouse button. Inconsistent interface, on the other hand, allows expectation to a rule. There are four types of consistencies: aesthetic, functional, internal, external. Consistency, aesthetic. Design with good aesthetic value involve those with unique styles and one-of-a-kind appearance. As an example, companies hire designers to have design attractive logos to represent their brands. Services are their products. Importance of consistency can be seen when a company wants to promote its brand elsewhere by establishing new branch. Consistency in aesthetic values, style and appearance of these companies' logos are thus important to provide recognition and enhance trust among their potential clients. Following with reference to the example shown below, the diagram on the left presents the official and well-known logo for the brand Logitech. And you can see there are Mercedes-Benz designs which has fine craftsman, reliability, and people have some emotional attachment. So good example of aesthetic. Under this, we are going to focus on consistency in meaning and actions. Consistency is this manner can provide good understanding and promote efficiency. When a user finds it easy to understand simple instructions, therefore he or she will be able to function together with the product design, work with interfaces, and communicate well with the services. Consistency is thus essential to maintain functionality and usability. You can see order control, signals, all are belong to functional and they have a consistencies. Internal consistency applies to consistent design with other elements in the system. Signs with an airport are consistent with one another. Internal consistency fosters trust within people subconsciously. It is excellent indicator that a system has been designed and not mixed within any logical grouping. Element should be aesthetically and functionality constant with one another. And the best internal consistency is if user get orientation and trust and indicate is system is well thought out and planned, then you are on the right direction. Consistency external. External consistency applies to the consistency with other elements in environment. Accelerator, brake, and clutch are placed in the same way throughout all the manufacturers worldwide. External consistency extends the benefit of internal consistency across multiple independent systems. It is more difficult to achieve because different systems rarely observe common design standard. The bottom line is we hear a lot about designing system. Why there is a sudden shift in companies to create design system? The most straightforward answer is consistency. Consider aesthetic and functional consistency in all aspects of your product. Use aesthetic consistency to establish a unique identity that can be easily recognized. Use functional consistency to simplify usability and ease of learning. Ensure that your product is always internally consistent and externally consistent to the highest degree. When universal design standards exist, observe them. Universal design makes product, services, and environments more accessible to diversity of people, regardless of age, gender, ability, race, etc. Universal design applies not only to the urban developments, products, and services that help everyone lives more comfortably, but also to the promotion of barrier-free minds. In a sustainable society, it is important for a diversity of people to enjoy the benefits fairly. Resolving disparities and reducing inequalities are also desirable sustainable development goals adopted by the United Nations. Universal design for urban developments and barrier-free minds are becoming more important towards the realization of a sustainable society. In HCI terms, this means particularly designing interactive systems that are usable by anyone with any range of abilities using any technology platform. In the late 90s, group at North Carolina State University in the USA proposed 7 general principles of universal design. These principles give us a framework in which to develop universal design. Universal design is the process of designing products so that they can be used by as many people as possible in as many situations as possible. Different environment, non-average can mean different environments. Context, location, modalities may require different interaction method, rules, models, different users. Not just about special population like those with particular physical or perception challenges. Also above that, users are part of original specification, new user, late adopter, age groups, older people, disability people, memory aids, communication tools to prevent social isolation, children, appropriate input output devices, involvement in design process. Cultural differences, influence of nationality, generation, gender, race, sexuality, class, religion, political affiliation, etc. on interpretation of interface feature. Interpretation and acceptability of language, cultural symbols, gesture, and color. User with disabilities visual impairment, hearing impairment, physical impairment, speech impairment, dyslexia, autism. There are three key areas which designing have to understand their requirements. For example, designing for user with disabilities, designing for different age groups, designing for cultural differences. In next few slides, I would like to explain all these. Visual impairment. The rise in the use of graphical interface reduce the possibility of visually impaired user. Hearing impairment. Little have impact on the use of an interface. Captioning audio content, making audio files easier and more efficient to index and search. Physical impairment. User with physical disabilities vary in the amount of control and movement over their hands, impact of mouse control, difficulty, eye gaze system which track eye movement to control the cursor, keyboard driver that can be attached to the user's head, predictive system such as the reactive keyboard cut the typing requirement considerably. Speech impairment. Multimedia system provide a number of tools for communication, including synthesized speech and text-based communication and conferencing system. Dyslexia. Users with cognitive disabilities such as dyslexia can find textual information difficult. Autism affects a person's ability to communicate and interact with people around them and to make sense of their environment. Social interactions, communication problems, imagination problems. How might universal design of technology assist people with autism? Communication and education. Designing for different age group. Older people. Email and instant messaging can provide social interaction in case where lack of mobility or speech difficulties and reduce face-to-face possibilities. Children. Information in graphics, sound and text, pen-based interfaces, touch or handwriting may be easier for children than keyboard and mouse. Designing for cultural differences. The other factors such as age, gender, race, sexuality, class, religion and political affiliation may all influence an individual's response to a system. The designer practice universal design which include language, cultural symbols, gesture and use of color. The 7 principles of universal design were developed in 1997 by a working group of architects, product designers, engineers and environmental design researchers, led by the late Ronald Mack in the North Carolina State University. The purpose of the principle is to guide the design of environments, product, and communication. According to the Center for Universal Design in NCSU, the principles may be applied to the evaluate existing designs, guide the design process, and educate both designer and consumer about the characteristics of more usable products and environments. Equitable use. The design is useful and marketable to people with diverse abilities. We have 3 examples. There's a one when a male is coming and the female is on the wheelchairs and they both have the same passage. Another example, the side light window provides an opportunity for all users, whether tall or short, seated or standing, to have the same experience of looking outside. Second example, the universal design playground was planned for user to enter from all directions, including the school, adjacent sports field and parking lot. The composite structure is designed to accommodate user with assistant devices where they can enter from one end travel independently to all piece of equipment without the need to leave their devices. Basically, it provides the same means of all users, identical whenever possible, equivalent when not. It avoids segregating to any user. Provision of privacy, security, and safety are equally available to all users. The design is appealing to all users. Flexibility in use. The design accommodates a wide range of individual preference and abilities. The top image shows a moving walkway in an airport. The moving walkway is designed to provide traveler the option of standing or walking. Individuals who are tired, have difficulty with mobility, or traveling with young children may prefer to stand, while others who are in hurry may choose to walk. The second example, the images on the right, displays challenge course, particularly being assisted by staff over a high ropes element. The high ropes course element gives user the option of crossing the matted bridge by comfort level, either standing and walking across or kneeling and scooting across. Actually, it provides choose a method of use, accommodate right or left-handed access and use, facilitate the user's accuracy and precision, provide adaptability to the user's pace. This is about use of design is easy to understand regardless of the user's experience, knowledge, language skill, or current concentration level. You can see an elevator is an example of a design that is simple and in conversely a lift is not always familiar to user. This may cause potential confusion or a lack of comfort with using the device. As a result, individual may choose to avoid using it. In the end, individual may miss the experience. In second example, the handheld captioning system at Walt Disney World, showing on the right, provides captioning on the moving amusement ride designed for wireless reception. This device does not require the use of extra control features and provide a simple solution for park visitors. Guidelines are about this point. Eliminate unnecessary complexity. Be consistent with user expectation and accommodate a wide range of literacy and language skill. Further, arrange information consist with us in importance. Provide effective promoting and feedback during and after task completion. Perceptible information. Communities effectively to the user regardless of restriction in the environment or the user sensory abilities. The example shows a woman standing at an exhibit in Hawaii. She is looking for a model of the island of Ohio while listening to an audio program on the Y2 attack on Pearl Harbor and USS Arizona. The exhibit accommodates the needs of most people by providing both auditory and tactile information. It is about use different modes, pictorial, verbal, for attendant presentation of essential information. Provide adequate contrast between essential information and its surrounding. Maximize legibility of essential information. Differentiate elements in ways that can be described. Make it easy to give instructions or directions. Provide compatibility with a variety of techniques or devices used by people with sensory limitation. Tolerance for error. The design minimizes hazards and the adverse consequence of accidental or unattended actions. This is an example of a computer program that accommodates for user-made error. The program allows user to easily select at undo button to revert to an earlier copy of their work. The Broadwalk Trail through Muir Woods has been designed with edge protection along both sides of the trail. The edge protections walking or rolling off the trail unintentionally. It is also sphere of visitor management by discouraging people from disrupting the forest surrounding the giant redwoods. Actually, this is all about arrange element to minimize hazards and errors. Most used elements, most accessible, hazard elements, eliminated, isolated, or shielded. Provide warning of hazards and errors. Provide fail-safe feature. Discourage unconscious action in tasks that require vigilance. Low physical effort. The design can be used efficiently and comfortably and within a minimum of fatigue. The sink with soap dispenser as shown to the right has the following advantages. Increase sanitation, increase usability for all users by eliminating most of the physical efforts. Reduce repetitive motions of turning handles or knobs on and off. The second one is the naturally paved trail has been designed with a slope not to exceed 5% so that hiker can view the scenery along the trail without the need to exert excessive physical effort that might negatively impact the overall trail experience. So it is all about allow user to maintain natural body position. Use reasonable operating forces. Minimize repetitive actions. Minimize sustained physical efforts. Size and space for approach and use. Appropriate size and space is provided for approach, reach, manipulation, and use regardless of user's body, size, postures, or mobility. The image of showing a reception desk with various heights. The desk is usable by people both seated and standing, as well as tall and short, allowing multiple users the opportunity to access information. The other example is concrete pathway in wide enough for pedestrian travel while the extra space at the team spectre viewing area accommodates wheelchair, seating, stroller and equipment. Actually, it all about provide a clear line of sight to important element for any seated or standing user. Make reach to all component comfortable for and seated or standing user. Accommodate variation in hand and grip size. Provide and hike space for the use of assistive devices or personal assistance. So, universal design is about designing systems that are accessible by all users in all circumstances, taking account of human diversity in disabilities, age, and culture. Universal design helps everyone, for example, deaf, walking in noisy environment, etc. The picture you can see all the things are available for all the people, all kind of accessibilities are available for all kind of people. To achieve that, the ergonomic design should lay down in following 6 pillars proposed by Sandra in 1993. User orientation. Design and application of tools, procedure and system must be user oriented rather than just task oriented. Diversity. Recognition of diversity in human capabilities and limitation rather than stereotyping workers users. Number 3. Effect on human. Tools, procedures and systems are not inherent but to influence human behavior and well-being. Objective data. Empirical information and evaluations are key factors in the design process rather than just using common sense. Scientific methods. Test and retest hypotheses with real data rather than anecdotal evidence are good estimator. Systems, object, procedure, environments, and people are interconnected, affect and another, and do not exist in isolation. So we have done design principles. The next part is user experience. User experience, or you can say UX, focuses on having a deep understanding of user, what they need, what they value, their abilities, and also their limitation. It also takes into account the business goal and objective of the group managing the project. US best practice promoting improving the quality of the user's interaction with perception of your product and any related services. User experience honeycomb. The user experience honeycomb is a tool that explains the various facets of user experience design. Since there are many aspects of this field far beyond usability, Peter felt that this new diagram would help to educate client. The honeycomb helped to find a sweet spot between the various areas of a good user experience. For example, useful. A practitioner, we can't be content to print within the lines drawn by manager. We must have the courage and creativity to ask whether our products and systems are useful, to apply our knowledge of craft and medium to define innovative solutions that are more useful. Usable. Ease of use remain vital, and yet the interface centered methods and perspective of human computer interaction do not address all dimensions of web design. In short, usability is necessary but not sufficient. Another, desirable. Our quest for efficiency must be tempered by an appreciation for the power and value of image, identity, brand, and other element of emotional design. Findable. We must strive to design navigable websites and locatable objects so user can find what they need. Accessible. Just as our building have elevators and ramp, our websites should be accessible to people with disabilities. More than 10% of the population is disabled. Today, it's good business and ethical thing to do. Eventually, it will become the law. Credible. Thanks to the Web Credibility Project, we are beginning to understand design elements that influence whether users trust and believe what we tell them. Valuable. Our site must deliver value to our sponsor for non-profits. The user experience must advance the missions with for profit. It must contribute to the bottom line and improve customer satisfaction. User experience in simple steps. Process, outcome, effect. In process, what user does. Outcome, what user attains. Effect, what user feels. Process, what the user does. The emphasis is on tracking the user's move and attention through the information space. For example, navigation path taken, use of back button or links, use of menus, help, etc. Focus on attention. Third one is outcome, what the user attains. The emphasis is on observing what it means for a user to feel accomplishment. For example, what constitutes the end of the interaction? Is there any purchase made, detailed submission, information located? How the user feels. This this emphasis is on identifying what the interaction means for the user. Beyond satisfaction, we need to know if user feels empowered, annoyed, frustrated, un- unsure, confident, willing to come back again. Benefits of good user experience. User experience is important because it tries to fulfill the user's need. It aims to provide the positive experience that keeps user loyal to the product or brand. Additionally, a meaningful user experience allows you to define customer journey on your product that are most conducive to business success. Simply, you can see if you have a good experience, you increase usefulness, your efficiency will be increased, less you can get more profit, improve productivities, less errors, reduce training time, and improve acceptance. Now we explore the user by designing an interactive information system to help tourist visitor to your city. So we need to understand the user first. What kind of knowledge might user possesses? How can this knowledge be useful in the design of the system? So go to your user, find out its goal, task, and then you need to ask the questions. Purpose of the investigation, types and group of user of the future system, constraint, appropriate techniques, user knowledge from interviews, questionnaires, observation, card sort as example of what sort of knowledge uh, user has. Interviews to find out what people know about their work, ask them. Interviews can be highly flexible and responsive, can be more or less structured, need some planning in advance, can be carried out in context. Focus of interviews, critical incidents, scenarios, involve studio recording with subsequent transcription and analysis of the transcript. Good for knowledge people are able to articulate, bad for expert knowledge and tacit knowledge. Questionnaires often used for evaluating systems, finding out about attitude and preference, surveying user population, fixed and pre-planned set of questions, uh, not flexible or responsive. What type of information do you elicit using questionnaires? Benefit of questionnaires: cheap, allow comparison and analysis, cross-check and validate other data. What are the most useful than interviews? Do not use for eliciting user knowledge. Quality of questions correlate to the quality of answers. Open-ended questions, unbiased question, don't lead or make assumption, use participants' words. Observation: millions saw the apple fall, but Newton was the one who asked why. People are often not good at explaining what they know, and what they do tends to be in depth and looks only at a small number of users. Good for identifying what people do, identifying what knowledge is being user and why, but it is time consuming. Card sorts help us how people are likely to group items. It's help to identify contents in categorization and give us the idea what user thinks about different items. Ask the users to give them the cards and ask him to describe group and name them. Describe overall rationale for grouping cards. Show best example from groups. What was difficult, what was easy. Happy with final outcome? Now we need to design a system for ambulance dispatch room. So how will we do it? There are different techniques. For example, initial interview. We will take open informal interviews with senior management for background information. Then we will have observation, notes and video recording of several sessions. Later, transcript and analysis of the tapes, interviews, critical incident analysis, contextual interviews. Users have some good tendencies, but at the same time, they always make complaints. For example, users don't estimate own performance well. User change over time, impatient, see things in their own way, seek to minimize cognitive efforts, complain, always complain, poor contents, slow loading, poor SES, unclear menu options, menu with example, sub-item much prefer and lead to more efficient use, too much clicking and forced navigation, no sitemap, poor search facilities. That's why you need to sit down, discuss all the issues which are you can face in the future to avoid any uncomfortable situation. User-centered design process. UCD is a user interface design process that focuses on usability goal, user characteristics, environment, task, and workflow in the design of an interface. UCD follows a series of well-defined methods and techniques for analysis, design, and evaluation of mainstream hardware, software, and web interfaces. The UCD process is an iterative process where design and evaluation steps are built in form the first stage of projects through implementation. Early focus on user and tasks based on structures and systematic information gathering consistent across the board. Designers trained by expert before conducting data collecting sessions. Empirical measurement and testing of product usage. Focus on ease of learning and ease of use. Testing of prototype with actual user. Iterative design. Product designs modified and tested repeatedly. Allow for the complete overhaul and rethinking of design by early testing of conceptual models and design ideas. User-centered design UCD methods can be categorized into 7 design processes that provide designer with a way to add emotional impact to product. It lets you translate the wants and need of end user into specification of building technological solution. They are user research, experience map, persona, ideation sketch, scenario and storyboard, paper prototyping, usability testing. User research is about gathering user wants and need. Who are you designing solution for? What are their problems, pain points? How do they currently complete tasks? Experience map. Experience mapping is about turning piles of user research observation into outline of user task and main point. It helps to extract main points, goal and persona information and highlight the order of the action and the pain point user experience. Here are you can see in one picture it's about card sort and it's obviously it's a scatter and then finally you manage it, then you give the label and after the label it's categorize them and finalize them. It is similar to card sorting, where you can categorize, and like in this figure, and these are the steps, 6 steps. Then you compile them, then give in your order according to the label. Personas are fictional character which you create based upon your research in order to represent the different user types that might use your service, product, site, or brand in a similar way. Creating persona will help you to understand your user needs, experience, behavior, and goals. Creating persona can help you step out of yourself. It can help you to recognize that different people have different needs and expectations, and it can also help you to identify with the user you are designing for. Persona makes the design tasks at hand less complex. They guide your ideation process and then can help you to achieve the goal of creating a good user experience for your target user group. Ideation sketches are ways you could make sure you are designing the best possible solution, not just one that seems good enough. It is about thinking more broadly about the problem, leads to the better solution, and sketching manipulate different solution to the problem. Scenario and storyboard. On a set of sticky notes, I have written down individual steps that describe the user's progression through the interface, which demonstrate the overall workflow of my most prominent solution from the ideation session. The workflow describes what my user will put in and what they will get out, rather than the actual method they use to achieve their goal. This process was especially helpful when designing the prototype because they served as a guideline for the design ideas. I produced a were workable to show me that what type of interaction will be required. Paper prototype. Creating a paper version of the prototype comes with several advantages. It is fast to build and change or move element around the screen, and it is easy to iterate and receive feedback. Usability testing. Usability testing is performed to find whether the large ideas behind your interface design work or not. If participants click on an area you don't have paper UI for, it is excellent opportunity to ask them what they expected to see. It serves as guides for later development and facilities design change before actual coding starts. Do we really need user? Yes. For example, if the design is satisfactory, then it will therefore be satisfactory for everybody else? No. The variability of people is so great that it cannot possibly be catered for in any design. But since people are adaptable, it doesn't matter anyways. I always design with UX in my mind. I rely on my common sense, so I don't need to be user. It is always expensive. Human factors in interface design. Limited short-term memory. People can instantly remember about 7 items of information. If you present more than this, they are more liable to make mistakes. So people make mistakes. When people make mistakes and systems go wrong, inappropriate alarms and messaging can increase stress and hence the likelihood of more mistakes. People are different. People have a wide range of physical capabilities. Designers should not just design for their own capabilities. People have different interaction preferences. Some like pictures, some like text. Mobile user experience. Mobile UX is important because the mobile devices are a growing technology that is steadily being used more and more. The reason for this is that it is easy, fast, and readily available compared to the conventional laptop or desktop. Picture yourself standing in a long grocery line waiting to check out. You then take out your phone to check social media app notifications. You then see something interesting and proceed to Google it to find out more information. Because Google is mobile friendly, the website is easy to navigate and use on the individual's phone. Here is time for activity 2. But the issue is because we are not face to face, we are meeting virtually, so it is not possible for to assign or give you any activity. Otherwise it will be very difficult for us to manage all the tutorial. Usability is an important characteristics of what makes a good user experience. Usability, a measure of the degree to which a product can be used by a specified user or groups to achieve specific goals of effectiveness, efficiency, and satisfaction in a specified context of use. So is there usability related to people? Yes. Usability is the science of making technology work for people. Very simple advertisement in front of you. So you can see there is a technology and there is a human and they work together. Usability, the effectiveness, efficiency, and satisfaction with specific user achieve specified goal in particular environment. So effectiveness is the accuracy and completeness with which specified user can achieve specified goal in particular environment. Efficiency, the resources expended in relation to the accuracy and completeness of global achieved. Satisfaction, the comfort and acceptability of the work system to its user and other people affected by its use. So what is usability? It starts from the system acceptability. System acceptability based on social acceptability and practical acceptability. And then practical acceptability has utility, usefulness, and then some have cost, compatibility, reliability, etc. performance. The useful feature of the usability is lead to usability. Easy to learn, efficient to use, easy to remember, few errors, subjectively pleasing. So simple, the usability is based on these 5 points. It has 5 pillars. So next, now we see all 5 pillars together. Effectiveness, speed of performance, error against some standard, task completable by required time of by target user, learnable, time to learn, amount of training and tech support needed against some standard. Relearning time for user, flexible, subjective satisfaction, tiredness, discomfort, frustration, effort required, willingness, eagerness to use system, benefits of usability, increase productivity for the user, decrease training and support cost, increase enrollment, sales and revenue, reduce development time and cost, reduce maintenance cost, increase customer satisfaction. Usability evaluations. There are four types: exploratory, predictive, formative, summative. Exploratory: how is it or will it be used? Explores current usage and the potential design space for new designs. Done before interface development. Learn which software is used, how often, and what for. Collect usage data, statistical summaries, and observations of usage. Predictive: estimating how good it will be. Estimate the overall quality of an interface, like a summative evaluation, but a prediction made in advance. Done once a design has been done, but before implementation proceed. Formative: how can it be made better? Inform the design process and helps improve an interface during design. Done during interface development. Learn why something went wrong, not just that it went wrong. Collect process data, qualitative observation of what happened and why. Summative: how good is it? Assess the overall quality of an interface, done once an interface is more or less finished. Either compare alternative designs or test define performance requirement. Collect bottom line data, quantitative measurement of performance. How long did user take? Were they successful? How many errors did they make? Usability inspection methods. These are 5. Heuristic evaluation, guideline checking, cognitive walkthrough, guideline scoring, action analysis. I would like to tell what are these. Heuristic evaluation: a small team of evaluators inspect an interface using a small checklist of general principles and produce an aggregate list of potential problems. Guideline checking: an evaluator checks an interface against a detailed list of specific guidelines and produce a list of deviations from the guidelines. Cognitive walkthrough: a small team walks through a typical task in the mind set of novice user and produce a success or failure story at each step along the correct path. Guideline scoring: an evaluator score an interface against a detailed list of specific guidelines and produce a total score representing the degree to which an interface follows the guidelines. Action analysis: an evaluator produce an estimate of the time an expert user will take to complete a given task by breaking the task down into ever smaller steps and then summing up the atomic action times. Usability testing methods. There are two main usability testing methods. One is traditional usability testing and evaluation methods, and the second is usability of cognitive psychology assessment methods. And this one has a further to eye tracking technology and egg technology. Traditionally, usability testing and evaluation methods. There are many traditional usability testing and evaluation methods, such as user testing, heuristic evaluation, cognitive walkthrough, behavior analysis, structures and unstructured interviews, questionnaires, GOMS, goals, operations, methods, selections, rules. Probably rules grammar for interface usability assessment. These methods are now widely used in a variety of interface evaluation processes, suitable for different user interface design and development stages. Each has its own advantages and disadvantages. Eye tracking. Visual is the direct way for user to interact with the interface. Visual awareness eye tracking, psychological assessment is very effective method for evaluating the pros and cons of the interface. Using line of the sight tracking as an assessment techniques for evaluate a range of website usability level. I can accurately analyze neuropsychological data in a small real-time window and high sensitivity to task complexity. It is a very attractive way to measure cognitive workload in the main machine interface. Ben Schneiderman's 8 Golden Rules. Designers need to solve problems every day, and finding the right solution involves in-depth research and carefully planned testing. It would be great to discover a one-size-fits-all approaches or a secret formula that would automatically solve all our interface design issue. We might not have the answer for not had yet, but we do know of certain shortcuts we can sometime take. While Jacob Nelson 10 heuristic for user interface design is probably the most popular set of heuristic out there, there are other. Ben Schneiderman created one of the greatest guides to solid interaction design called Designing the User Interface, which reveal his own collection of principles known as the 8 Golden Rules of Interface. These are consistency, shortcut, feedback, dialog closures, simple error handling, reversible action, put user in control, reduce short-term memory load. Consistency. Designing consistent interface means using the same design pattern and the same sequence of action for similar situation. This includes but is not limited to the right use of color, typography, and terminology in prompt, screen, command, and menus throughout your user journey. Remember, a consistent interface will allow your user to complete their task and goal much more easily. Shortcut. Speaking of using user interface rules as shortcut, your user will benefit from shortcut as well, especially if they need to complete the same task often. Expert user might find the following feature helpful: abbreviations, function keys, hidden commands, micro facilities. Feedback. You need to keep your user informed of what is happening at every stage of their process. This feedback need to be meaningful, relevant, clear, and fit the context. Dialog closers. Sequence of action need to have a beginning, middle, and end. Once a task is completed, give some space of mind to your user by providing them informative feedback and well-defined option for the next step. If that is the case, don't keep them wondering. Error handling. A good interface should be designed to avoid error as much as possible. But when errors do happen, your system needs to make it easy for the user to understand the issue and know how to solve it. Simply ways to handle errors include displaying clear error notification along with descriptive hints to solve the problem. Reversal of actions. It is an instant relief to find that undo option after a mistake is made. Your user will feel less anxious and more likely to explore options if they know there is an easy way to reverse any accident. This rule can be applied to any action, group of actions, or data entry. It can range from a simple button to a whole history of actions. Control. First, a definition. In personality psychology, locus of control is the degree to which people believe that they have control over the outcome of event. Its definition from Julian. Julian Rowlett, important to give control and freedom to your user so they have able to feel they are in charge of the system, not the other way around. Avoid surprises, interruptions, or anything that has not been prompted by the user. Users should be the initiators of the actions rather than the responder. Reduce short-term memory load. Our attention span is limited. Anything we can do to make our users' job easier, the better. It is simpler for us to recognize information rather than recall it. Here we can refer to one of Nielsen's principles describing recognize over recall. If we keep our interface simple and consistent, obeying to pattern, standard, and conventions, we are already contributing to better and ease of use. The 10 most general principles for interaction design. A heuristic evaluation is a usability inspection method mainly used to identify any design issue associated with user interface. Jacob Nielsen heuristics are probably the most used usability heuristics for user interface design. They are called heuristics because they are broad rules of thumb and not specific usability guidelines. These are one of the most used heuristics for user interface design. They were developed by Jacob in 90s. The final set, which we see here, released in 1994. Let's have a look into them one by one. Visibility of system status, match between system and the real world, user control and freedom, consistency and standard, error prevention, recognition rather than recall, flexibility and efficiency of use, aesthetic and minimalistic design, help user recognize, diagnose and recover from errors, help and documentation. In next few slides, I will give you the more example. Visibility of the system status. It says, always keep user informed about what is going on. Provide appropriate feedback within reasonable time. Actually, when the user upload an image for cropping, he or she needs to wait until the image appears on screen with the square box. Depending on internet speed, this load time varies from many users. There is no way for the user to know if he needs to wait or continue to next page. This principle states that the user should know what is going on inside the system. We need to give a feedback of his or her action within a reasonable time. This feedback is normally associated with points of action and can be provided using a color change, loader, time left, graphic, etc. We can see in a B figure, only 9% is left. The file is already uploaded, 91%, and only 9% is left. Match between system and the real world. Speak the user's language with words, phrases, and concepts familiar to the user rather than system-oriented terms. Follow real-world conventions, making information appear in a natural and logical order. Uh, is there any something on your application that a user may not understand? This is very common to miss since we get associated with the product for over a period of time. It is also important for the application to speak the language of the target user base. User control and freedom. Users often choose system functions by mistake. Provide a clearly marked out to leave an unwanted state without having to go through an extended dialogues. Support, undo, and redo. This principle talk about giving the user the freedom to navigate and perform action. The freedom to undo any accidental action. This principle can be best illustrated by the Gmail's flash messages with undo action when we accidentally delete an email. Similarly, we can see picture A and B. There is only cancel and confirm. But if you want to do something, modify it, there's no option available in A. But in the B side, they give an option before you confirm it. If you see any spell mistakes or wrong information, you can modify easily as compared to A. Consistency and standard. Users should not have to wonder why the different words, situation, or actions mean the same thing. Follow pattern per platform conventions. Consistency is the key. A submit button is one page should look the same across the site on any page. If we show the data in particular table format on one page, it should look the same the next time data is being shown in tabular format. If the header is displayed in a certain way on the public page, it should be on the same when she logs in. Similarly, you can see most of the time we are using the icons in a similar way. Similarly, you can see consistency is here. MS Office, Excel, and MS Word both have a similar icons, symbols, and even home, insert, page layout for etc. So if you don't have consistency, it is very difficult for the user to understand your system and design. Error prevention. Even better than good error messages is a careful design which prevent a problem from occurring in the first place. How many times did you Outlook remind you that there is a no attachment in the email while you mentioning that something is attached? Outlook, Google's intuitively scan the email for such keyword and alert the user before sending. This is error prevention. Similarly, you can see the figure A and B. Do you want to clean your disk now? Yes or no option is available, and then you started pick yes, and you can see 63% your disk is already formatted. But on the B side, you can see, do you want to clean your disk now? Yes or no? And if you choose the yes, you will get the message. This process will erase all content to the disk. Are you sure? And then they ask again yes or no. That's clearly error prevention. Recognition rather than recall. Users should not have to remember information from one part of the dialog to another. Instruction for the use of the system should be visible or easily retrievable whenever appropriate. Recall requires cognitive efforts, and if you have not recently used a particular piece of information you are trying to recall, you will require even more mental efforts. It is always better to suggest that user a set of options than to let him remember and type the whole thing. The goal is to minimize the application of user memory. Minimize the user memory load by making objects, actions, and options visible. Here there are three pictures, A, B, and I think there is a no C, but obviously it's the C. And the number A, they said please choose a password. Last three character in your password should match with the last three digit of your account number. Right. But on the B side, they already given your last three digits, right? And obviously that's a more better than recognition rather than recall. Similarly, if you see the right side, there is a font style. Previously, when you want to know what sort of font style you need to use it, you select it, then you write it, and then you came to know what style is that. But now, if you read the name like Bank Potang, Baghdad, Arnopro, it's mean they look like the way they are written here, over there. Flexibility and efficiency of use may often speed up the interaction for expert users so that the system can cater to both an inexperienced and experienced user. Allow user to tailor frequent actions. All the time there are two types of users, beginners and power users. Your system should be created to enable both. The interface should be flexible, transforming itself between a novice user and advanced user. One frequent this option while installing a new software that asks if the user wants to go ahead with default installation or custom installation. An advanced user chooses a custom installation to cut out the unnecessary service. Here you see the famous Control C copy and Control V is paste. Aesthetic and minimalistic design. Dialogue should not contain information which is irrelevant. Every extra unit of information in a dialogue competes with the relevant units of information and diminish their relative visibility. Prioritization comes to play with this aspect is being considered. For the designer or the developer, or the information that is being presented on the page is irrelevant. The product manager needs to ask the end user if it is so. Is information displayed on interface necessary and useful? Google homepage is an ultimate example of anyone who wants to know the how minimalistic design with great technology is a winning combination. Minimalistic design is a strategy where you show only those content or features that are going to support the primary goal of the system. More information also means more cognitive load and more decision time. Minimalism is, however, not about just removing design element from your system. Help user recognize, diagnose, and recover from errors. Just simply explain in a plain language, no code. Precise indicate the problem. Constructively suggest a solution. I don't think I can book ticket online. I tried doing it once and failed. Actually, I'm not a tech person. Do these lines sound familiar? There are many people in our friends and family who do not try out new technology because they feel it is too hard to understand. But can you really blame the user if a system does not give them enough feedback to work on their errors? Errors are inadvertent in the user journey. A check needs to be made if these errors are being explained to the user in understandable language. In one of the example you have normally see when you try to put username and password, they always give the answer username or the password is incorrect. Here we are not informing the user if the username is invalid or the password is wrong. Here is another example in A and B. In AB is a very difficult language. It's not a plain language, fatal errors, null pointer exception. User does not want to know these things. Just tell him error, cannot create a story card before creating a block leg. Do you want to? Okay, fine. So very simple language. The user can understand what is happening. Help and documentation. If a user has reached this step, something is not right with the interface. A great user interface lets the user navigate through its feature without any documentation and training. But if there is any user who could not make it out, then help should be provided within the product. In fact, an ideal system should not require a manual help or elaborative documentations. But still, if they do not get stuck somewhere, you should have help and documentation to support them. When you do heuristic evaluation, you need to write down all the issues which you are facing over there or which are not available, apply over there, and then you see what kind of issues are there. Maybe there is a cosmetic problems, minor usability problems, or the major problems. So you just write down against every heuristic. There is a sample of heuristic evaluation report sample. First you need to write down the problem, then the Likert art severity is a 3, and then how many heuristic evaluations are applied on this. According to this report, there are 4 heuristics, 1, 4, 6, 10 apply over there, and then at the end you need to write down a recommendation. Report format report should have problems, heuristics, then description, severity, recommendation, if any, a screenshot you have to give them, and there is the example of error prevention, and it's very simple. So where user may close window without saving data, error prevention. And if the user has made changing without saving and then closes the window using the close button rather than file exit, no confirmation dialog appears. Recommendation, show how confirmation dialog are safe automatically. So someone comes in your office and he said he's very worried about his company. So he said, we are facing too many problems getting people to understand some of the best features of our product. Do you think you can take a look at it and tell us what we need to improve? The answer is very simple. Obviously, in next slides, I give you the answer. But there are a few things you need to consider first. From the whole lectures, what is important for us? We studies usability point of views, there is reviews. We also studies Bin Schneider's 8 points, Nelson's 10 points. It depends everything, so which one is appropriate way. But I think whenever you decide it, in the next slide you can find it. The answer is Nielsen heuristics, 10 points. You can also use Bin Schneider's 8 point. It depends upon you, which is easy for you and which are very close to your understanding. I think both are okay, but the famous are Nelson one, so that's why everybody goes there. But I don't think so. Okay, the 8 points are less than the 10 points, so I think you can choose anyone. Actually, we are talking about the website, and you see there are 3 portions of any website: user need, context of designing, and app needs. So there are 10 points, 1 to 10 on the left side. And if you want to know where is the visibility of system status, so you go there and check the search part are dealing with that. And similarly, if you match between systems and the real world, they are available in navigating around and miscellaneous. all is in front of you, so I'm not reading one by one, and I just would like to say this is a very easy way to find out uh, your heuristics where are available and how to manage them. Simply, usability is like oxygen. You don't notice it until it is missing. If you think good design is expensive, you should look at the cost of bad design. The one of the example is a Windows 8, I think, Windows 7 something, when they have an issue and then they pull out and then they come up with a new version of the window. So really improve the validity and efficiency of human-computer interaction. We need to understand the essence of human-computer interaction fundamentally. It is necessary to study in depth the decision-making process and psychological mechanism in the process of user-system interaction. In the process of HCI, the cognitive and mental operation of users are analyzed in depth. By usability testing, it helps interface designers better design product from a user-centric perspective and improve the usability of the interface. So, what are the takeouts? Do you have any idea? Very simple. There is no magic formula. You need to understand what your user want. If you know your user's expectation, your requirements, you are on the moon. Thanks. Sometimes questions are more important than answers. My email address is there. My both email address are there. My university email address, my personal email address is there. My WhatsApp number is there. My ResearchGates and LinkedIn links are also there. So if you have any question and any query, or there is any what's that activity you did with yourself, so and if you want, I can give you the feedback, and it's all about you. I love to answer all your questions. There are some recommended books. I think the best book is Don't Make Me Think. Simple book, just to read it if you possible. The other books, Observing User Experience, also good if you have a practical experience and if you want to do some research on that point. Then Handbook of Usability Testings. So there are a lot of books are available, but these are the some which are very important. They are the references. There are a lot of references which I maybe some missed, or maybe I did not use it, and it's I think there is a one list are here. Similarly, one list is here. So that's up, and I think I'm not sure how much you enjoy this one because we are waiting virtually. So I still again say hope to see you next year in New York. Thank you. Bye. Have a nice day.